Should India introduce mandatory qualifications for property consultants? Today, my friends, is World Realtors Day, and I want to ask you something slightly uncomfortable.
If someone is advising a family on the largest financial decision of their lives,
Buying a home worth 50 lakhs, 1 crore, sometimes even 10 crores,
should that person be allowed to operate with no formal training at all?
no certification, no examination, no professional qualification. Today, I want to talk to you about why that question could reshape the future of the real estate profession in India.
Here is a question that divides almost every room I walk into. Should India make it mandatory for property consultants to have formal qualifications?
A certification, a diploma, or even a professional degree before they can legally operate? Some people say absolutely. It will professionalize the industry. Others say no. Real estate is about hustle, relationships, and results, not degrees. Well, I'm Realtor Sam Chopra, and today I want to explore both sides of this question.
And then share what I believe could truly transform our profession.
So let me begin with something meaningful. 21st of March today is observed as World Realtors Day.
Instituted during my presidency of NAR India in 2016.
For me, this day represents something deeper than celebration. It represents the idea that real estate is not merely a trade, it is a profession.
A profession that deserves a structure. A profession that deserves standards.
And a profession that deserves respect. Many of us proudly use the salutation Realtor, Realtor Sam Chopra,
Written as R. Sam Chopra.
just as society recognizes DR for doctor, CA for chartered accountant, CS for chartered secretary. The day must come that when RR carries the same credibility.
Not only amongst ourselves, but in the eyes of the buyer, developer, regulators, and families who depend on our advice. Let's honestly examine where the industry stands today.
In India, becoming a real estate agent is relatively easy. RERA has brought tremendous transparency and accountability to the sector. This was a historic reform, but RERA registration is primarily a compliance step. It's not an education step. The system asks, are you registered? But rarely asks, are you trained? Do you understand property law? Do you understand fiduciary responsibilities? Do you understand contracts, valuation, negotiation, and compliance? When entry barriers are extremely low, the profession becomes crowded with participants operating at very different levels of knowledge and commitment. Clients cannot easily distinguish between a professional advisor and a casual intermediary. And when that happens, trust begins to erode.
Let me pause here for a moment. If your family were investing their life savings in a property,
would you want them to be advised by someone who is trained and accountable, or someone who simply filed out a registration form?
That simple question explains why this conversation matters.
Let me share a situation many of you recognize. A young couple spends 15 years saving money. They combine their savings, family support, and a bank loan to buy their first home.
For them, this is not just a transaction. It is the biggest financial decision of their life. They walk into a project site, they meet a property consultant, and the advice they receive in these conversations may determine whether their dream becomes a reality.
Or unfortunately, whether they make a mistake that affects them for decades.
So the real question becomes very, very simple. Should the person guiding them be trained, Or should we assume that market will somehow sort everything out?
There are strong arguments for introducing qualifications. First, client protection. A buyer investing 50 lakhs or 1 crore or 10 crores deserves guidance from someone who understands law, contracts, and risk. Second, professional dignity. In many countries, real estate professionals are respected advisors. In India, the profession still struggles with perception. Third, industry maturity. When knowledge standards rise, documentation improves, compliance improves, and trust improves. But we must also acknowledge the other side. Real estate is a performance-driven profession. Some of the most successful professionals built their career through relationships and practical experience, not classrooms.
There is also a risk. Poorly designed licensing systems can create bureaucracy, corruption, and unnecessary gatekeeping. So reform must be thoughtful and gradual.
Now let me draw a comparison with another profession. Before independence, accounting in India was largely unregulated.
There were bookkeepers, there were auditors, but there were no consistent national standards.
Then came the Chartered Accountants Act of 1949, which created the Institute of Chartered Accountants of India.
The transformation did not happen overnight. Many practitioners were grandfathered into the system. Standards evolved gradually.
Exams became tougher over a period of time. Today, the Chartered Accountant designation commands enormous respect. Real estate could follow a similar evolutionary path.
There are also global examples worth studying. Take Dubai, for example.
Dubai created a dedicated real estate regulator called RERA, the Real Estate Regulatory Agency, even before India introduced our own RERA.
Under that system, anyone who wants to operate as a broker must complete mandatory training and pass a licensing examination before they can legally practice.
Agents must register with the regulator. Their licenses must be renewed. Their professional conduct is closely monitored. The result is a market that is far more transparent, structured, and trusted.
Buyers know what they're dealing with. They're dealing with licensed professionals. Developers know what they're dealing with. They're working with trained intermediaries.
And the government has a far better visibility into transactions, taxes, compliances, and therefore their revenues.
India does not necessarily need to copy that model exactly.
But there is certainly something to learn from it, because when knowledge, licensing, and transparency come together, the entire ecosystem becomes much more healthier.
A practical pathway for India could look like this.
Certification first. Short programs establishing baseline knowledge of contracts, compliance, negotiation, and ethics. Then diplomas. Specialized training in residential brokerage, commercial leasing, investment advisory, and project marketing.
Then finally, degrees. Full academic programs combining theoretical knowledge with practical experience.
And even after degrees, learning should not stop. Like chartered accountants, professionals should complete continuing education every year.
Attending programs, earning learning credits, updating knowledge, and if those credits are not completed, the professional may need to requalify through another set of examinations.
Is that strict? Yes, it is. But credibility requires discipline. Professional education also strengthens transparency. Real estate transactions involve stamp duties, registration charges, and taxes. When deals move outside normal channels, the government loses revenue, the exchequer loses revenue, and honest professionals also suffer. A well-trained brokerage ecosystem ensures transactions are properly documented and properly reported. The encouraging part is that the industry is already moving in this direction. Globally, the National Association of Realtors offers designations such as CIPS and CRS.
Organizations such as the National Association of Realtors in India, through the Indian Institute of Real Estate, conduct training programs.
But perhaps the most interesting development in recent years is the emergence of continuous learning platforms with global brokerage networks.
Industry bodies such as NARIDCO, CREDI, RICS, and platforms like Prop Equity also contribute to professional education.
Sessions cover negotiation, technology, marketing, compliance, and transaction management. Across different time zones, it is common to see 10 to 12 training sessions happening globally in a single day. Agents log in from all across the globe. They learn from experienced practitioners and coaches. They exchange best practices. And when learning becomes embedded in the culture of a profession, training stops becoming an obligation.
Take the example of eXp Realty. Through eXp University, agents across the world participate in training programs almost every day.
So the real question is not whether India should regulate real estate more. The real question is whether we want the sector to remain informal or evolve into a true profession. A profession built on certification, diplomas, degrees, and lifelong learning. A profession that families can trust when they invest their life savings. If we build that system, one day when somebody introduces themselves as Realtor Sam Chopra, people will not just hear a title, they will understand what it truly represents. A trained professional, a trained advisor, and a profession that India can be totally proud of. Because the goal, my friends, is not just to grow the real estate industry. The goal is to elevate it. If you believe our profession deserves this level of respect and professionalism, please share this conversation forward. Thank you.